Hello everyone, good evening. Sharing my screen. Just give me one moment, guys. So we're going to build our last application in today's session, and it will be the final session. So we need to understand how to build a mobile application in VBCS. So I've logged into VBC OIC instance here. So I go into VBCS. You create a new application, and I'm going to call it as UG63 mobile PWA application. I'm going to talk about what exactly PWA is in a moment. Okay, so I'm creating it as a mobile PWA application. Click on finish. And if you see here, we've got four components here. We've got four components here. Remember when we did the first VBCS session, we were able to see another component here, but this also went missing now. Remember the process option? Earlier, we had an option to, we had some process related options in the action chain, but those actions are no longer available. And even when we had to call a approval process from VBCS app, we did it using a REST API. So that's why Oracle has taken out this process option. But if you see here, earlier we used to have two options here. So the first one used to be called as a web application, and the second one used to be a mobile app. This used to be a desktop application, and this used to be a mobile app. And if I create a screen or a user interface as a mobile application, in the old versions of VBCS, we had that option. And after we created VBCS option, application, we also had an option to add a build configuration, like depending on which operating system do I want to push the mobile application to. So if I want, I could push the application to Google Play Store, or I can also send the application to Apple Store as well. Okay. So we used to have an option to create a mobile application here. And when you create that mobile app, you can add a build configuration to it. And after you add a build configuration to it, we can publish the mobile application. You can call it as native mobile application to Google Play Store or Apple Store, to Google Play Store or Apple Store. Just give me one moment. So apart from, so earlier we had that option to create a native mobile app, and we also had an option to publish that application to Google Play Store or Apple Store. And we could have asked the users to go there and search for our application and install it in there. But we no longer have that option. We no longer have that option to build a native mobile application, meaning, yes, I can build an application which would render very well on a mobile device today, but I cannot publish that application to Google Play Store or Apple Store. So that's a first important point. And this application, which used to be called as desktop application earlier, it is called as it is renamed as responsive application. Renamed as responsive application. Okay, which means yes, the screen that you build would render very well on desktops as well as mobile devices. But yes, if it is a mobile device and if it is a desktop application, what do we normally do is when we have to circulate it. So you are going to stage the application, and when you stage the application, stage a web app, what would happen? There would be, when you stage an application, there would be a URL generated, and this URL is what we're going to share with the end users. That's a story with a web app. But what if you build it as a mobile application? How do you distribute that application so that users can use it on a mobile device, not a laptop or a desktop? That's exactly where PWA comes into picture, a progressive web application. So in today's session, we will create a responsive application which would work on mobile devices or targeting mobile devices. And we will also see how to distribute it as a PWA. Now, first of all, for any application, we need a data source, right? So I'm going to use a data source here, a REST API as a data source. And we've already seen how to use Oracle REST API as a data source, right? So in this particular session, in this application, we will use a generic REST API here. We will use a generic REST API. Okay. So there is a REST API called. So if you search for this, if you go ahead and search for REST countries. So this is a generic REST API that is available, and it is also not authentic. It is also not a secured one. You can call it even without passing in any authentication information. And if you scroll down, these are the endpoints that we have on this REST API. These are the endpoints we have. So if you have to call this endpoint, or if you call this endpoint, say, REST countries all. Now, if you call this endpoint, what would happen? You would be getting all the countries' information. So you get list of countries here, and for every country, you would be able to see all the details here. And for every country, you would be able to see the details here, all the details. Like you see here, this is India, and you see all the other details about the country. So this REST API basically gives you information about all the countries that are there in the world, and you have all the details that you need to know about the country, like name, region, currency, and so on. So as an example, we will just use this as a data source here. I'm going to create a service connection. I'm going to add that endpoint, and you say get many, and you call it as countries API, and it's not a secured one, so you don't have to pass in authentication details. And you can say get all countries. Go to the test button and fire off a request. And whatever details that you have got back in the response, you can save it as an example response. Since the response is going to be quite lengthy one, it might take up to a minute to save this response. And you might also see a pop-up here saying that page is not responding. Don't exit the page. Don't exit the page. Just leave it as is. Don't exit the page. Just wait for it. And you say create. So the example is saved. The schema is saved now. I'm going to say wait. I'm not able to close this pop-up. Yeah. And this API is created, and I just have to create a responsive application now. I'm going to call it as countries application. And you see that there's a main start page that is showing up. And we can go ahead and fine tune the header and footer. So we can go to the header and a footer. I'm going to select it as. So it's not a HR web app, actually, it's a countries application. So just select this as countries. Countries application. And you can go ahead and take out the footer items here. We've already seen how hyperlinks work in a different one, in a different application. I'm going to take this one. And when you create a web app, usually the application would, and let me just open the page. So you would be able to see the application here. And it would normally be targeting a desktop applications. Okay, so it would normally be targeting a desktop application. You can go ahead and delete it as well if you want. Let's retain it. That's okay. I can change the heading here as countries application. And we need to go ahead and drop the components here. So what is it that I want to do? I want to drop in a list view here. And I want to display the list of countries here. Okay, I want to add data source to it. I want to map the table to a data source. And you could see that there's this REST API showing up here. And when you select a template for a list view, you see that there's one generic template and there is a targeted template as well, like where you could see a list of slots as well. So you select these slots, go to the next screen, and you see this. You see these slots in the top here, and all those slots are showing up here. And this is a benefit of selecting this targeted template. I can exactly specify what fields need to be displayed in what slot. So in the leading slot, what is it that we need to display? We need to display a country flag. We need to display country flag as an image. Okay, and in the default slot, what do we want to display? Common name. Not in the overline slot, I want to display it in a default slot. And in the secondary slot, I want to display a 2-digit country code. I want to display a 2-digit country code. And in the metadata slot or in the trailing slot, you can also mention what exactly you want to display in there. Okay, you can mention it in the trailing slot, and you can select 2-digit country code as a primary key and click on finish. So the moment you add this in, so this is how the application is going to look like. And first of all, if you see this, so by default, it would be, we are building an application targeting a desktop or a laptop keynote. But if you click on this, you can see that you can change or you can target a mobile device for this application, or you can build this application for a mobile device. So say, for example, and if you see here, you go into the devices, you can see the exact mobile device that you can target. So if your client says most of their users are using iPhone 12 Pro, you would be selecting that particular option here. And the moment you select that option, you would see the device as well. And it's going to exactly show you how the application is going to look like on a mobile device, on that particular device. So you don't need to visualize it. You don't need to strain yourself to visualize how the application is going to look like, because you exactly see it on the page. And this is how the page is going to look like on the mobile device. This is how it is going to look like on a mobile device. And what else we can do? Remember, the way you build the application would be exactly the same as you do a web app build. Drop in a collection component, map data to it, add the CRUD pages to it, and based on the REST APIs, and do all that stuff. Everything that you do in a mobile application work exactly as you do in a web app. But the only difference is, or the main difference is, how you circulate this. Remember, this is application that users need to use on their mobile device. This is application that users need to use on the mobile device, right? So how are they going to do it? So they need to have a way to install this application on a mobile device. At the moment, if you see, right, when I click on preview, I don't see an option to install the application. But if I go ahead and click on the countries application settings, and there's something called as PWA. It stands for Progressive Web App. And the moment you enable Progressive Web Application option on a VBCS app, what would happen is, the moment you enable this, you would see that there would be an option that immediately pops up here, which says, do you want to install the application? Do you want to install the application? Okay, so if you enable PWA, the moment you enable PWA, you would see a pop-up here. You would see an option here which says, Prasad, do you want to install it? And if you try it, you might or might not have a password handy on your mobile device. So I go to security and I take out this option called require authentication access. Because if you leave this on, what does it mean? It means when you try to access the URL on your mobile device and when you try to say install it, you would not have an option. You would not have an option to install it without entering the authentication details. So if security is enabled, only after you enter the OIC username and password, you would be able to install the application, and that is very much required in real time. So I unchecked this only because you might want to try it out without entering details. And the moment you enable PWA, is you enable PWA, and after you enable PWA, what you need to do? What is it that we have done to install the mobile to release the application for testing? So the moment I enable PWA, what do you see? The moment I enable PWA, when you launch a web app, whenever you launch a web app and I click on preview, you see there's immediately an option to install showing up here. So if I access this URL in a mobile device, okay, you can try this out later today, guys. If you paste this URL, maybe send it to you in WhatsApp and try to open this link in a mobile device, you would immediately see an option to install the application. And the moment you click on install, this would be the same behavior that you would see on your Android or iPhone. There would be a pop-up which says, Prasad, do you want to install it? And you say install it. Since I'm trying to do it from a MacBook, it got installed as a Chrome application. But when you try to do it from a mobile device, it would get installed as an application on your device. And you would be able to see how exactly the application is going to look like. And every other feature that you add in the application would be exactly the same as you build a mobile app. Sorry, as you build a web application. There's absolutely no difference at all. Okay. And if you look at some of the actions, say, for example, if I drop in a hyperlink here. Okay, I drop in a hyperlink here. Just to show you the possibilities, I would say mobile actions. And go ahead and add an action chain on click. So there are some actions in the action chain here. That could work well only on a mobile device. So for example, if you see something like get location. So who might probably need it? A service engineer might be visiting a client location. They want to get the location of them. Or somebody might want to scan a barcode to get the warranty information. Or you might probably want to share something from your app, right? So there are a few actions in the action chain here, which makes sense more on a mobile application rather than a web application. So these are such action chains. So these are such actions that are available in the action chain, which would work or make more sense on a mobile device rather than anything else. And how do you install it? If you just have to share this URL with the testing team. The moment they open it on their mobile device, they would see an option to install it. They would install it, and they would go ahead and test it and give you a feedback. And another important point is, I'm not sure how many of you noticed it. So I didn't even close and reopen the application. But the moment I made some change in here, and the moment I tried to see the application, it got reloaded. And you immediately started seeing that new option that we have seen here. So what's the best thing with PWA? The best thing with PWA is it makes it easier. Sorry. If you enable PWA, it's quite easy to publish the application. That's option one. And another important point is, yes, it's easy to publish the application. And the second important option is, it is easy to publish the changes as well. So in the earlier, in the old version, even if we had an option to publish this application to Google Play Store or Apple Store, when we had to publish an update, what would happen is, say, for example, if you get a new update in WhatsApp or Facebook, what would happen? You would just see one option showing up on top of that application. And unless me as a user takes an initiative to update the application, I can still keep using the old one. But we don't, and it's difficult to publish the application. Initial publication is difficult, and also pushing the changes is also difficult. But those are made much more easier with the help of PWA option. Those are made much more easier when you do the PWA application. Okay, so that's the story behind this mobile application. So the way you build the application would be exactly same as you do in a web app. But yes, if you want to, if it is a mobile application that you're building that your support engineers or anybody needs to use it on a mobile device, enable PWA so that when you open that URL, you would be able to see that application showing up directly getting launched here the moment you click on preview. Okay. Any questions guys from anyone in this application? Okay, couple of things, guys. Yes, with this we have come to the end of the training program. You would have instance access for 3 months from your batch start date. I'll come to Sachin. Give me 2 minutes. Yeah, you would have 3 months of instance access from your batch start date. And if you want to extend it beyond that, do give me a call on this number. I'll let you know the process for it. The session recordings access would be for lifetime. And the PPT's access would also be for lifetime. And if any of you wants to take up a certification exam, couple of things I want to talk about. If any of you wants to take up a certification exam, if you go to 4.other documents, here I have uploaded last 4 years certification dumps. If you go into OIC dumps here, you have last 4 years certification dumps available here. So the certification exam that you need to target is this 1Z0104223 certification exam. This is the one that you should target for a OIC course. Okay. And if you go into Oracle, so if you want to take up the certification exam, application integration professional certification exam, it would cost you roughly 20,000. And you need to take up an exam score more than 65% in it, roughly 90 minutes. And the topics that you see here would be exactly the same topics that you have covered, the same topics that you have covered in the integrations track. Whatever we covered in integrations, that alone should be more than enough for you to clear this certification exam without any problem whatsoever. Because earlier, if you look at 22 or 21 or 22, used to be quite complicated because we used to get questions from integrations, PCS, SOVA CS, and API CS as well. And it used to be a struggle for the students to clear the exams. But it's much more simplified now. You only get questions from integrations, not even PCS and VBCS. So if you need a certification exam, yes, you need to, first of all, you need to go for it only if you are not a fresher. If you are quite experienced resource, go for it only if your employer is ready to sponsor, or unless you have a very strong reason for it. Yes, certainly, no doubt about it. It's a very much valued certification exam. The employers value it. But yes, since it comes at a cost, go for it only if you really need it. And if you go for it, or when you go for it, ensure that you go through all the dumps or all the sample questions that we have uploaded here. If you go through the questions, you know the answer yourself. You know the answer yourself. And that's about the certification exam. And if you are planning to take up if you're looking for change, you can look at this sample resume that we have uploaded. And in this sample resume I've given, so this is like an integration specialist profile with a little bit of Fusion Cloud experience as well. So I've mentioned the skill summary as well here, the skill summary. And here I mentioned what exactly I've covered as part of the course. Like most of these points are related to integrations. There are a few points related to Fusion Cloud as well. If you're not interested in that Fusion Cloud, you can take it off. Okay, and you also put in a couple of projects showing whatever you have learned as part of the course. And if you're and before you attend any OIC interview, ensure that you go through these list of 50 interview questions that I have put together. Okay, so go through this list of interview questions before you take up a certification exam. And remember, we covered OIC Gen 3 as part of the course, right? So be prepared to answer a few questions about differences between Gen 2 and Gen 3 as well. You guys haven't seen a Gen 2, but you can very well say that you haven't seen Gen 2, but if you say that I have 3 years of experience in OIC, and if you say that I haven't used Gen 2, both the statements are contradictory because Gen 3 is only 6 months old, or maybe 3 months old in terms of real usage. So be prepared to answer a few questions related to differences between Gen 2 and Gen 3. Like in Gen 2, we didn't have projects. In Gen 2, in notification, we didn't have BCC or CC. So read more about the differences between them and be prepared to answer them as well. Okay, so that's about the certification, interview preparation. And if you guys didn't get a chance to complete the end-to-end solution build or any other component that we covered as part of the course, absolutely nothing to worry. It's not that I'm going to stop answering your calls from after today. I'll be there always to help. But if there are any topics that you are not able to practice, do practice them. Complete all the pending topics, compile a list of questions, and let me know. Give me once a single consolidated message, or maybe an email with all the list of questions, and I'll revert back with a detailed response. Okay. Any questions? Yes, Sachin, please go on.
Yeah, Prashant. First, I just wanted to thank you for this precise and organized sessions for us, and I'm actually really happy for this.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and one first question, like last week I came up in my company. We have a requirement. Yeah, so that is a real-time scenario. We have a Gen 2 in our office, and I have not got a chance to work on that because that is something DB is now, like our company has not started using it as of now. So just we got installed. So what they're looking at is the current requirement was supplier payments. They wanted to send XML file to the bank. We have a NBK bank here, and they have a SMTP server, and they wanted to do the payment via XML file. And I just check it out with YC. I found out that there is a B2B which may help to generate the XML file in the precise format what bank is looking at. So will that be the correct solution for? Can you just give some like?
I didn't use the B2B option, but what options you have in here is if you go into B2B stands for business to business. And what you can do here is a couple of reasons why I cannot show this in the training session is we don't have a trading partner or a host profile setup to show this in action. Okay, so when we go in here, when we go into our documents, so what we normally do is in B2B you can define a schema, and you can define a document based on a schema, and all are standard EDA documents that you normally come across, right? So when businesses exchange documents, typically the invoices, purchase orders, or any business documents, then there are some standardized formats like EDA format and other formats are also available there. So we can define a schema and define a document based on that schema here. And after we do that, when we build the integration, in the integration, you do have a couple of EDA related actions available there. So if you go into UG63, and if you go into any of the integration, if you go into the integration, you should be able to see a couple of couple of actions related to EDA. Oh yeah, okay, it's still opened up in a view only mode. That's why you're not seeing the options. I'm going to unlock it. And I'm going to open it again. And we go into the actions here. And in the actions, what are the options that you get to see? So you see a couple of actions related to EDI. Yeah, if you go into this B2B, right? So this B2B option gives you an option to deal with EDI documents. Okay, so if you're not getting a message in a required format, say for example, if you have to convert an XML input into a EDI format or a specific format that is given to you by a client, you can go ahead and make use of it to do that. Okay, so we can convert XML or JSON into EDI format, and you can also do vice versa as well. So for example, if you're getting an EDI document from a source, but say for example, you need to load that into Fusion Cloud application, maybe you get a purchase order in a different format, in an EDI format, and we need to create a purchase order in cloud. So what do you do in such case? You use B2B, and we do an option called translate, or a couple of options would be available in there. One is translate, and there's one more option as well, not on top of my mind, But yes, you can convert XML or JSON into this EDA formats and you can send it across to other systems. Okay.
Yes.
And if you look at this B2B blocks, right? So there are a couple of blocks that comes with. So you need to put in OIC as well. So if you look at a couple of these blocks, right? So you go to this particular link, look at 3 or 4 blocks that are related to B2B in there, and it gives you much better clarity, or a couple of integration use cases where you get to see how exactly it works. Okay, it's just that remember the stage file action that we were using to convert the file from CSV to XML. Yes, it works exactly the same way. It's just that you select B2B instead of stage file there. Okay, any other questions?
One more question.
Yes.
Yesterday I was just doing VBCS, this AR invoice practice one. What I was facing the problem is like in the invoice lines, I was able to only pick the first line. Second line is not getting converted in the invoice. It is not getting picked. Maybe I'm doing something wrong.
Okay, what's the application name?
SKM.
Not getting picked up means we don't.
Means like it is not getting invoice is getting created, but if there are 2 lines at line level, only one line is getting interface to the invoice. Yeah, edit invoice.
To ERP cloud, is it? Is it
yes.
What you're saying? Okay. That is...
Submit invoice is there on the top itself, which is button itself.
Okay, this is fine. What did you do the repeating row mapping? When you map the payload here. Now, this is not the one that you should map, right? So you should be mapping this one. I think you map this one. You need to map this one to this array, and then description, quantity, and USP. So I pick this one up. I'm going to edit it and submit it. $90760. It's in EUDU, right?
EUD.
I think you didn't map the appropriate array element. That's a problem, I believe. But let's quickly check it. You see all the lines now, right? You see the total amount here. You see all the lines. I think you mapped what you did is you mapped this particular element. You didn't map the You didn't map this one, you mapped this one. Or this is the area that you need to map. Okay.
I just mapped the below one.
Yeah, below one.
So, yes, can you open my application for a moment? I was not seeing that message. It is a very simple issue, but I could not able to figure it out.
Okay, what's the name?
It is STAR invoice. So when we submit, correct, we provided the message that invoice submitted successfully with a process ID notification.
Correct.
Somehow that pop-up is not coming.
Pop-up is not coming, is it?
Yes.
So after the invoice, is the invoice getting updated?
Yes, invoice is even getting created also and updated also, true.
Okay, but you're not seeing this confirmation message. Look, you said something like leave here. So when you normally drop on a notification, right? So these are the options that you're seeing, is it? Leaf
Yes.
is the one that you see by default. You're seeing this message, but not the ID?
No, I
You're not
don't
seeing
see
this
both.
one.
Summary and message, both are not coming.
Okay.
And behind the scene, it is like creating a task also.
Okay. Okay, and it's also not navigating you to the previous screen, is it?
That I have not put it, I think, yet.
No, it is there. You have navigate back option.
Oh yeah, navigation back also not happening. Correct. Yep.
No, I think update invoice
There
is
is a
not
mess.
happening. Yeah, there are errors here, right? So it is saying it cannot it cannot evaluate this transaction. I think R is missing here. Transaction number. Update invoice was throwing an error because you see this R was
I
missing.
did not remove. I should be removing this one, correct? Because there is no invoice number now from this notification. So
correct, yeah, but I think you didn't remove it completely.
Completely.
There was still some value in there. Yeah.
Okay.
Now I think you can print that value in there. Okay.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, guys? Yeah. Thanks everyone. Thanks for your time. Any questions at any point in time? If you want to talk to me, please call me on my WhatsApp.
Yeah, Prasad, one small doubt.
Yes, Jamal, please go on.
Yeah. Is it possible if we have faced any issues? Is it possible to attend for next batch? Means some classes.
If it is 1 or 2 sessions or 3 or 4
Yeah.
topics, so you can let me know. I'll let you know when those sessions happen for a different batch. Okay.
Sure, Prasad. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Prasad, Prasad, only one thing I wanted to say.
Yeah.
First of all, it was really organized, and thank you so much for this lovely sessions. I have been hearing you out since 3 months, and it's been wonderful. And I learned a lot personally, and I believe that everybody has learned a lot. So, but the only thing is, we all are not connected, and somehow, no, every thick and thin we can be, help each other. So, is it possible that we can at least share the contact details or something like that?
No, if you see, the problem is we've had a lot of issues in the past when we created those groups and connected people. So we did it with good intentions, but like it didn't go well. So if you want to get connected with 1 or 2 resources in the group, do let me know. I can check with them, and if they are also interested in staying in touch with you, I can exchange both of your contact numbers. But we don't create groups and personally monitor them. Okay.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, Prasad.
Thank you, Prasad.
Thank you.